Hello, and welcome to this episode of Central Intelligence. I'm Max.
And I'm Darla. Today, we take a look into what it's really like to be a hibachi chef,
The truth about sleep routines,
how crafting turned into a career.
and the story of an equestrian who survived a life-threatening accident.
Stay tuned for these stories and more, because this is CI.
Hibachi restaurants are a popular dinner experience, full of food and fire.
Madeline Bauer and Alex True take a look into the life of the chef that cooks in front of you.
Well, when I first moved to this country, I was 20 years old, and my first job was a Japanese restaurant. And I thought it would be fun to learn something different. It was a little challenging for me because I didn't speak a whole lot of English. And as I went on, I started enjoying more and more. And here I am still today after 36 years. Well, if I was back in the kitchen doing stir fry or grilling, I don't think I would last this long, just facing the wall, but this job is different. Each table, it is same, but it's different people. It's a bit more fun when you are single and young, then you enjoy doing show, and fire and all that. But then once you grow older and start family, you work late nights, you work every weekend, you work every holiday. And that's when you start looking at it a different way, because you hardly see your child. You really have to have a personality to be able to cook in front of people, to come here and enjoy your job. Because if you don't enjoy, the customer will not. This job is often misunderstood by customers. They think I just come out and have fun with them. They don't know that I came at 11 o'clock. We open 4:30. They're like, so what are you doing from 11 to 4:30? Well, there's a lot of preparation. We make sure we cut chicken, we make sauces, we cut meat, we cut all the vegetables, and fish. And so everything for that day to be fresh. There's a lot of work involved. You have to keep pushing and working your way up. You start from bottom. I first wash dishes, then I watch them cooking, and then they would sometimes let me do a few things to help them out and see how I do and how interested I am, and they decide to train me because I was a good worker. And then little by little you start cooking. My life in Croatia was pretty rough. When I was 1, my father died. So there was 5 of us kids, and mom was raising us. When I graduated high school, I went and served 1 year of military because it was mandatory. It was still communist Yugoslavia at the time. By the time I finished that, I tried to find a job, and it was so hard. There was no jobs. Inflation was extremely high. And I realized that some of us must go somewhere else and look for happiness. So I was the first one. So I applied to work on a cruise ship in Miami, Florida. They sent me a contract letter, and so with that I get a visa and I get to Miami. But once I went for interview, they realized that I wasn't speaking enough English, and they would send me home. So instead of going home, I took my passport and ran away through streets of Miami. Ended up in Fort Lauderdale and found a little Japanese restaurant and asked for a job there. For me, it's very rewarding when somebody say, do you remember you cooked for us on our first date, and we've been together ever since then. Watch kids growing up. One little girl was coming here, father would be bringing her in a carrier, and she, a couple of weeks ago, celebrated 30th birthday, I found something that I like, and I was able to do it, something that gives me lots of fun and help me raise family and buy a house and buy a car. but also I met a lot of good friends, good people. So it's how you want to take it, you know. It's better if you just try to enjoy and have fun. So even if it's a little harder, it's also rewarding on the end of the day.
Student sleep deprivation is a prevalent concern nationwide, and its effects hit home at Central High School.
Reese Smith and Darla Bauer delve into how students and professionals navigate education and well-being amidst this crisis.
I do not believe I get enough sleep because usually I only get like 4 or 6 hours. And I'm always waking up really tired.
I would say that I probably don't get enough sleep. I have a lot of things that I have to work on at night.
Probably not. I don't really have like a set sleep schedule.
No, I most of the time spend most of my nights studying.
I don't think so. I have to get up early for a lot of school things.
I'm tired of school every day.
Adolescents in particular, the suggested amount of sleep that you get is 8 to 10 hours, and only about a quarter of you as a population actually get that sleep. When you chronically have less than 8 to 10 hours of sleep, we call that a sleep debt, and when that happens, we get side effects such as depression, higher risk of self-harm, higher risk of suicidal thinking, higher risk of suicide, obesity. I think it's also always important to consider that any already standing mental health issues, a lack of sleep will exacerbate those. Another important piece I think that isn't often specifically suggested is the fact that the adolescent brain is still growing and developing. And that's one of the things that sleep is utilized for.
There's a lot of things that I have to stay at school late for, whether I'm making up a test or just doing other things for extracurriculars.
History and journalism are the two biggest culprits for what I spend the most amount of time on.
HL Math and HL Chem. Yeah.
Chemistry in my math class, partly because I just struggle more with those subjects and they assign a lot of homework.
School and extracurriculars, and also work. I work 2 jobs, and I also do a bunch of extracurriculars, so I don't really get home until about 8 or 9 most nights, and so then I have less time to do schoolwork, so I'm up later doing schoolwork. So
I think one of the problems is for you as teenagers, particularly teenagers who are heavily involved in extracurriculars, which we want you to be, who are taking rigorous class loads, which we want you to do, who have a social life, which we want you to have, right? That when you're doing 1 or 2 or 3 of those things, your time fills up pretty rapidly. The thing that we try to get teenagers to do that's really difficult is to go to sleep earlier. And so I think it's particularly difficult for teens who have so much more to do or so much to do and less control over their biology associated with sleep. School plays a huge part in sleep. School takes more of your time than anything else does, and it's a necessary evil.
A lot of times I'm either staying up late working on schoolwork, or I'm just in bed just thinking about all the schoolwork I have to do.
But studying is just the overbearing amount of homework or tests that I have the next day.
I will often have teenagers tell me that they can get by on less sleep.
I can be tired, but I can function pretty good when I get no sleep. Especially if I get no sleep at all, it's better than when I get 1 or 2 hours, because I just kind of survive off it, I guess.
First of all, getting by is not the goal. When people tell me, oh, I'm fine, I often think, fine, is fine the goal? Is that really how you want to be, right? Even if you very unfortunately have your body trained to get by well on 6 or 7 hours of sleep, I want you to remember the specialization of the brain that is supposed to be occurring that can't happen with good sleep.
And there have been certain points where I've woken up and it'll be 3 or 4 in the morning, and I'll be well, since I'm awake, I may as well do that homework assignment or do that reading, because
no time to waste.
The American Academy of Pediatrics and the American Psychological Association have both called for schools to have delayed starts, to have their start times be later consistently. And then there is also this recommendation of being very cautious about how much after school homework, schoolwork is assigned. The teenage brain is not done growing yet. It's not baked. And so it's not fair, I don't think, to expect you as adolescents to honestly to be able to manage all of that all the time. So I do think that it's the larger institutions, organizations, and the grown-ups who need to take responsibility for helping you all to help yourselves.
Crafting is a hobby that provides a relaxed environment for everyone. However, one artist in particular takes it to a new level.
Fiona Liu and Brooke Bleckett introduce a business owner who crafts beautiful products as a form of therapy.
A local small business owner, Elizabeth Lackey, shares her journey of how she turned her love for art into a part-time business.
So I moved to Springfield about 5 years ago, and I got my bachelor's and my master's in psychology and then counseling at Evangel, and then just stayed in the area doing counseling. Right now I work with Awaken 360, and I do that 4 days a week where I'm just a full-time counselor. So I see a variety of individuals. My youngest client's 4, my oldest is 62. I just see a lot of different things. But I started Honey and Fiber as a way to get myself through grad school. Grad school is expensive, but I managed to have a job. But then my second year of grad school with internships and practicums, I knew it was not going to be good for my health to try to do school all day and then work all night. So I was like, let's do something that I enjoy. The summer of 2021, my sister asked me to make her one of those rainbow car charms that got like really popular. And I was like, sure, I can do that. And I was like, but why can't you just go buy one? She's like, well, you're crafty and you'll do it for free. And I was like, okay, cool. And so I just started dabbling with a macrame cord I bought off of Amazon and was like, oh, this is really fun. And like hit the ground running, and then got to the point where I was like, macrame is getting boring. What else can I do? And saw that a lot of macrame cord is also used in weavings, especially the type of weaving that I like to do. And I was like, let's just turn it into a legit shop and go from there. A lot of my art is just about practicality. If it doesn't serve a purpose or it's not fun, it's not really what I want. And so with macrame, it's sustainable, but it's also it's a durable type of craft. So I do a lot of keychains, a lot of wristlets. My disco ball car charms or my daisy keychains. Those are things that it just kind of makes you smile. A lot of people, when they're creating art, they slow down. Their body slows down, their mind slows down, and they get so involved in it that all the rest of the stress goes away. And not everyone has the words to explain what's going on in their head. And this is where the counselor in me comes out of. Art allows us to express something that we can't always say in words, or we're too scared to put into words, or colors, materials, different things communicate things that we can't just always very easily communicate.
For most equestrians, riding horses is a fun, competitive activity. For one rider, it almost killed her.
Lily Bartlett and Lauren Chiao show us a story of bravery and champions as they introduce a person who overcame all odds.
At 593 is Air Supreme, top 10 award winner. Carissa Hay rides for Adeline Poindexter of Springfield, Missouri, sired by Fires Air. And the final top 10 to entry number 680. Here is LH Tempting V as Carissa Hay as a rider for Laurel Hills LLC of Brainerd, Minnesota. Carissa Hay and LH Stetson TRGR for Laurel Hills LLC of Brainerd, Minnesota, sired by Regal Air TRGR out of Fame Starlight. Carissa Hay, as our owner rider, joins from Springfield, Missouri. It's the Royal Purple Ribbon, Aria Nautilus. Carissa Hay, as our owner rider.
My accident was March 20th, 2018. It was just a normal day. Training horses. One horse that I was riding that I was very familiar with, nothing new. Nobody unfortunately knows. I don't know how it happened, but we kind of think she hit me in the head with her head really hard. So I was fortunate enough to have people there that didn't see it right when it happened, but were quick enough to see it right after it happened, called 911. Within about 5 minutes, the EMTs were here, you know, helping me survive. Kind of, you know, resuscitated me, because if that hadn't happened, I probably would not be alive to this day. You know, I was in the hospital for about a month total. I was in ICU for about 6 days. They put me in induced coma. And then I kind of was on like the first floor in a room for about a week and a half. And then I went to the rehab for like about 2 weeks, where I spent a lot of time doing basically rehab, physical, mental, speech therapy, all that, because it was really hard. It was, you know, your brain, the part that I got hit, it kind of had to reset a little bit. So I did not balance, I couldn't hear, I couldn't talk properly. I had to do a lot of speech therapy, you know, where they would hold up a spoon and I knew what it was, but I could not form the word spoon. So we did a lot of that kind of stuff every day. A lot of physical, trying to make sure my balance was good and I could walk again, and, you know, to where they could release me back to where I could live a normal life. So it took a while. And then once I was released, I went 3 days a week for 3 hours back to still do therapy, you know. And for a while there, actually, while I was in the hospital, they had a psychologist come and talk to me, and they said I was like not ready. Like, that's who the president was, and I think I like said the previous president, like, so there was a lot of stuff still, like, you know, my brain was not, I guess, quite caught up, you know. It was still kind of struggling, and so I had guardianship. My mom was my guardianship for a little bit because they didn't think I was ready to be my own again, you know, and that was really frustrating because I was still there, but I just couldn't properly be there, if that makes sense, you know. So yeah, that was really hard. You know, you're still awake and conscious, and then you have all these people around you telling you, like, you know, you're not ready, or you can't do this, you can't do that. After my accident, it was kind of a lot at once. You know, I didn't have a job anymore, so that was really hard. I kind of lost my job, lost my longtime boyfriend. I didn't really have a house. Like, I kind of was like restarting life, essentially. I basically had my car and my dog, Max, you know, kind of just me and him trying to figure out what to do. I worked a horse show with Cheyenne, just kind of helping him with some horses, and on the way home is when I had my first seizure. So we were driving, we were about 20 minutes from the barn. I was following him behind the horse trailer, and I kind of started to feel a little fuzzy, weird, and I was like, I need to pull over, and the next thing I know, I'm in like the back of an ambulance. And I got really lucky. I mean, it was really just the airbag to the face. I wasn't hurt at all. And, well, then I think about like a month later, I had another one here at the barn, and it was kind of the same thing where I just kind of started to feel weird, like couldn't talk. Like, next thing I know, I'm like in here when there's like 6 EMT around me, and I'm like, what's going on? So then after that, I started my medication, and I've been really lucky to be seizure-free since I've started my medications. I've been really lucky, obviously, like, to go on and be successful in this business, so I just want to keep continuing. I have a lot of great support behind me and people that trust and believe in me. But, you know, the goal is to obviously win a national championship and a big open class, and just to have a really good string of show horses. And I've got a great boyfriend right now, and I'm sure we'll probably get married at some point eventually, maybe children in the future. You know, life's just kind of back to normal. I always, since I was a kid, you can look back at my like 6th grade journal and said, what do you aspire to be? And it's always been a horse trainer, so.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Central Intelligence.
See you next time.